I raised my nephew as my own because my sister didn't want him. Now her daughter is envious of her brother because they're struggling financially. When I, a 43-year-old female, was 18 and my sister, then 22, got pregnant with my nephew Luke, she and her boyfriend, who is now her husband, showed little interest in him. I stepped in to care for him, with my grandmother's significant support. She looked after him while I finished high school, in return for me doing household chores over the weekend. My parents offered minimal help, just $100 a month, which wasn't much. Only my grandmother and I truly took care of him. A year after my high school graduation, I was forced to move out with my nephew because my parents, sister, and her husband wanted us out. My sister once said she regretted having Luke. I immediately sought legal help and gained full custody of him, and from that point on, I've considered Luke my son, not just my nephew. My grandmother and I lived together while I attended community college and worked part-time. Her passing when Luke was 6 left me everything, which caused my family to suddenly show interest under pretenses of reconnecting. The reunion was short-lived, and I made it clear they had to respect boundaries or stay away. My father chose to genuinely reconnect, and we've since grown close. My mother, however, is distant, though she's kind to Luke. When Luke was 8, the same year I got pregnant, my sister suddenly wanted Luke back and began poisoning his mind, suggesting my new baby would replace him. My husband, who met Luke when he was 5, and I have always treated him as our own. We even formally adopted him with his consent. When Luke learned of my sister's manipulations, it deeply upset him. We reassured him of our unwavering love. Post this, I ceased all contact with my sister and sought therapy for Luke and our family. When my younger son was born, I ensured Luke understood he was still loved just the same. 2 years later, under my son's and husband's guidance, I resumed minimal contact with my sister. Our financial stability allowed our children to partake in activities and receive generous gifts, unlike my sister's family. When her daughter, my niece, turned 17 the same age as my younger son and expecting a car like her cousin, my sister asked me to buy one for her. I refused, as I hadn't promised one, leading to a falling out. On my son's 17th birthday, we gifted him a car, and shortly after, my niece confronted me, upset over the perceived inequality. I explained to her calmly that while I care for her, the financial responsibilities for such gifts were not mine. She didn't take it well, and following her reaction, my sister and other family members labeled me unfairly. Feeling guilty about the advantages my children had, I still held my ground on financial responsibilities. My niece and I later met to discuss her feelings. I clarified my role in her life that while I love her, she isn't my child. The conversation ended with her still feeling neglected and overlooked compared to her cousin. This resulted in my decision to cut off contact with my sister when she failed to fulfill her parental duties. My mother suggested I help financially, but I refused to enable their reliance on me. This has caused a rift, with my father temporarily moving out due to financial disagreements with my mother over supporting my sister. Later, after a failed attempt to reconcile with my niece, she acted out severely, leading to legal consequences. This further strained familial relations, with my sister accusing me of ruining my niece's life. My husband and sons support my decision to maintain our stance and not drop any charges. This is the current state of our family dynamics.